So I did not know when you said model lesson if that meant you wanted like a lesson me teaching my actual students, or if you were looking for me to do something like this, or was this me talking directly to you. Since I didn't know, I decided to do one me talking to you. I also have examples of lessons that I'm giving to my students that I'd be more than happy to submit upon request. So just let me know if this wasn't what you wanted, and I will get you what you do want. Anyway, here is my model lesson. So today I want to talk to you about the nature of historical debate. You see, I think a lot of times we envision history as just this entrenched narrative. History is a study of what happened, plain and simple. But that is not true. Because you see, historians, they disagree about pretty much everything. They are some of the most argumentative people in the world. They can agree on the bare facts of an event, like, hey, the Battle of Gettysburg happened on this date. This person became president and supported a tax cut. They can agree on the bare minimum, the just straight facts. When you get into the meaning of those facts or why narratives happened, they don't agree at all. And your job, as fledgling historians, is to be able to judge between narratives and ask the right kinds of questions and look at narratives objectively so that you can determine which ones you think line up most with reality. But they differ, and we have to understand that. So to talk about that, we're going to talk a little bit about the American Revolution. See, one of the common narratives of the Revolution is that it occurred because the British were imposing unfair and just burdensome taxes on the colonists. The Stamp Act, the Tea Act, the Molasses Act, all these acts being pushed together were just creating such a burden on the colonists that for them to economically survive, they needed to revolt. That is a narrative that exists about history. When we look at the actual substance of the taxes themselves, when we go into the realm of questioning historians, not just taking what they say at face value, we see that the taxes that were being charged to the colonists weren't actually that burdensome at all. Like for the Stamp Act, for example, one of the most maligned taxes in American history, they were being charged about 1 shilling per stamp, or per piece of paper. In today's money, that's about 25 cents a stamp. Now, I don't know about you, but I would not risk my life fighting and dying for 25 cents per transaction. The taxes themselves, again, they weren't burdensome. Really why the colonists, I think, were revolting was because they didn't recognize the right of the British to tax them. They saw their natural rights as Englishmen being threatened. It was in the excuse me, class, I can't get my words out right now. It was in the British Bill of Rights that you were not supposed to be taxed without representation. So they didn't think that the British had a right to levy those taxes. And so when they resisted, when they protested, which we've talked about some of those various protests, and we'll go into more detail, the British response was heavy-handed. They suspended right to trial by jury and habeas corpus of all crimes relating to these intolerable acts that the British were passing. This scared the colonists because they still remembered the British ages. The time was different. It was still fresh on their mind what the Middle Ages were like. Henry VIII and the Star Court and all the abuses and tortures that horrified them throughout the Middle Ages when people, were condemned by trial by combat and Game of Thrones type things. They did not want to return to that, and they were afraid. They knew how easily countries could slip into returns to that. So that is why they resisted so heavy-handedly, because they believed in the Enlightenment ideals. Because that was the narrative that I believe and the narrative that I talk about. But I am not the only historian in the world. Other historians have different viewpoints, and historians like me have similar viewpoints. We need to determine, though, we need to be able to see when those viewpoints are there and recognize that history is never just a straight fact narrative. So to do that, I got a little assignment for you guys today. So what we're going to do is I'm going to split you off into groups of 4. I'm going to give each of you a source, so there will be 4 sources per group. The sources are all going to be about the American Revolution. They're going to weigh on the causes of the American Revolution. There'll be an image with a source, and that'll be the source itself. I want you to evaluate the image. I want you to read the source, and then I want you to write down individually what the author says happened. Just what the text says, just straight up. Then I want you to take the image into account. I want you guys to track together what the context and subtext of the source is. So what are they saying? What are they assuming within the source? What's being implied by the words that they use, by the facts that they choose to include, by the facts that they choose not to include, and then that should give you an idea of subtext. Then you are going to work together to determine which one you think is most reliable once I tell you who the author is. So, who do you think is least biased, or who do you think has biases that are most in line with reality, and why? So we're going to talk about reliability of evidence and other things that go along with that. As you guys do this work, we'll be walking around talking to you about that, and hopefully this will give you a broader understanding of how to interact with historians. And that concludes my model lesson. Again, I have actual videos with me with students, so that is something that you are looking for, just let me know. I'll see if I can attach that as well. I don't know if I can do more than one attachment, but again, available on request. I really hope to hear back from you guys. I would love to work for Tempe. So hope to hear back from you soon. Have a good one.